What's up, Yellow Jacket Nation, and welcome to another episode of Jacket Chats. I am your host, Bryce Johnson, for episode 4 of Jacket Chats, and our first multi-guest episode of Jacket Chats, as I am joined today by Lincoln Fleischman and Katie Turpin of the Black Hills State Cross Country Program. Hey, how are you both? Thanks for taking the time today.
Doing quite good. How about yourself?
I'm doing well. How about you, Katie?
Doing great. Thank you.
Like I said, thanks for taking the time. We'll get right into it here. So why did both of you choose to come and run at Black Hills State?
So I chose Black Hills State because of the business majors that we have here and the AAC SB accreditation that we have. And I also chose it because of the previous coach, Scott Walkinshaw. He invited me to come to school here, and I really loved the area. So I thought it was a home run from the start.
My main attraction was actually Coach Med. He recruited me in a bad time during my cross-country season, senior year. And so just his loyalty to me and his drive to get me on the team was really a home run for me. I also want to be a PA, so the STEM program was good here. And it's just a beautiful place to run. And yeah, we're very fortunate to have all the canyon to run in.
Now, cross country is kind of not as much of a popular sport. So how did you both get into running cross country, and what makes you want to keep doing it?
I ran track my sixth grade year in high school, and I had a coach that was just really persistent to get me to run long distance. So I tried that out in track towards the end of sixth grade year, and she convinced me to do cross country seventh grade year, and I just fell in love with the commitment and the perseverance. You really can just dig deep and find, I just found so much passion in it. And I don't know, I felt like I was created to be able to run and to have that passion towards it. So I really just fell in love with the hard work that's involved.
For me, running comes in my family. So pretty much everyone on my dad's side of the family was at least a pretty good runner at some point. And my older sister decided to run collegiate athletics before I got into college. So I thought, that might be a lot of fun. But cross country is a lot different from a lot of other sports, and one of the reasons that I really love it is because it's just so black and white. It's so easy in some ways. We don't have to deal with so many complicated things going on the court or on the football field or anything like that. So it's really easy to just hone in your skill in the pain category, which is pretty much the only thing we really have to focus on. So it makes it a lot easier to be a lot better at one thing than maybe trying to hone your skills in a lot of different parts of a different sport.
Yeah, it's simple. It's either you ran fast or you didn't run fast. It's just there's no real gray area there, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Now, your teams have seemingly lighter schedules kind of in the fall compared to the other teams. You don't necessarily compete every weekend. So how's the season for you both going individually and as a team with that kind of lighter schedule?
So this is actually a pretty standard cross-country schedule, at least for while we've been under Coach Med. Now, previously, they would probably race every single week, and they would drive up on the days of meets. But Med wants more quality over quantity. So,
which do you prefer? Do you like the lighter schedule, or did you like racing every weekend?
I definitely prefer the lighter schedule. It gives us a lot more opportunity to really be friends on our team, and we get to hang out on the weekends, which a lot of other sports are gone for the whole time. So being able to be more friendly as a team and being able to be here more often and get in more regular training is really nice, and I personally like it a lot. So I like what Med's done.
So getting a full training weekend allows us just to get real good quality without worrying about how our legs are going to feel for a race that weekend. So we get a good chunk of training in. We then get a next week full of taper just so that we have a good quality race, and then it starts all over again. So we're really trying to build up momentum throughout the season. Instead of it strictly being competing, we get to actually train through the season, which is just really helpful in growing in the sport and getting us faster for regionals when it really does count.
Now, you've both mentioned him once or twice. You have Coach Brian Medigovich, and he's an interesting guy. How do you like running for him and competing under him?
He's really passionate about what he does. He loves his team, and he really just cares about us and who we are, and he looks past how fast we can run. And it just is really encouraging to have a coach that cares about you. And then he is just so smart about his coaching, and I truly do trust him with my training, which is really important when you are trying to run at a college level, trusting your coach to get you where you need to go. He has fun, he enjoys what he does, and he just allows us to enjoy what we do too.
In other programs, I know it's not completely uncommon for coaches to somewhat disregard athletes that aren't in their top 7 or people who basically aren't placing in their meets. But it is very unique to have a coach who really gives time to every single person, despite where they might be in our lineup. And Med really does care about us, and he knows training in and out, as he was a professional athlete in the past and a very good college athlete. I think he's like a 14-time All-American. So we're definitely getting information from a great source with Coach Med.
And you also brought in new assistant coaches here, Maggie Davis. What has she brought to the program? What has stood out about her?
Coach Davis has been awesome. Last year, Med was definitely very swamped under the amount of work he had, being the head of both the track and cross-country program. So now having a new track coach and then also having Coach Davis as an assistant coach for us has definitely lightened the load a ton for Med, allowing him to be able to focus more on what he might find a little more important, which is interacting with his athletes and getting us good workouts and good meets and doing a lot of recruiting, which obviously helps us in the future. But Maggie brings a lot of personability as well, so she really cares about us. And then especially when it comes to our mid-distance squad, our 800, 400 squad, then she is basically taken over and is doing all of their workouts with them and helping them through all that, which has been really nice for them because Med can't be in every single place all the time.
I definitely feel like we're a lot less rushed and we can just enjoy practice. Her being able to help us in the weight room allows Kellen to really be able to go home at the end of the day instead of staying with us late. So we're not rushing through our workouts anymore. We can have a coach in there that knows what she's doing and can help us really build up our strength. And having a mid-distance coach has really helped Med be able to focus on the distance coach. She's just also a really good encourager. I know I've come to her before with running questions, and she's fresh out of college, and so that really is a helpful thing to have. She is really strong in her faith, and that also is encouraging to me too.
Now, your teams have a really interesting tradition of going on a team bonding camping trip before the season. What is that like and that experience like, and what do you think the team gets out of it as a whole?
Yeah, coming kind of as a newbie almost, as a freshman last year, having that experience was great. I think it really put me in a position where I needed to communicate and talk to my teammates and really build that bond from the first day. And that has created just lifelong friendships, making myself comfortable with the team and with Med, and really exploring how fun running can be. It doesn't just have to be about the running, but also bonding with your teammates and having fun. I think college athletics needs to be enjoyed more. It's not something like in high school where I felt like I was doing this as a choice I am now making, and bringing that full circle and making it part of my life and enjoying it has really been just a great thing, and camp has really just expressed that and made it a cornerstone.
Obviously, coming in as a freshman can be very difficult for a lot of people. You don't really know many people, especially in my case. I know I didn't know anybody coming into school. So being able to connect with your team that first week of school before anything really gets started is really big. And just being able to grow friendships before you have to really step out of your comfort zone can make it easier to do that later in your college career. And I think it pretty much boosts us into like halfway through the season in previous years with where we get in our relationships with each other. So it's very nice, and it connects us a lot with our coaches and connects the new people with the culture that we have on our team and the upperclassmen and people who have been here before.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Like, it probably definitely has the biggest impact on the incoming freshmen, getting them integrated in the culture.
Oh, absolutely. It affects them the most of anybody else. And obviously it's great for those of us who are upperclassmen who have been here before, because we get to know them and we get to be friends with these people who we really don't know at all.
Yeah, it's a really fantastic thing that you and your team does with that. Now, let's look ahead. This weekend, your teams are set to travel to Denver for the RMAC Championship race. How do you expect to perform both individually and as a team at that event?
So on the men's side of the team, we are not going to be bringing our number one, Timmy, and then myself. We are going to be going to an alternative meet so that we might be able to compete better at our regional meet. But as for the guys team, the rest of the team should still be doing well. The RMAC is harder than I think it's ever been before, and it's going to be more difficult than ever for our team to really do well and beat a lot of other teams. So we're hoping to beat out a couple of other teams and just prove that we can do it, even though we don't have every single person from our main squad. But our main hope is in the regional race, which is coming up.
The girls team is a little young. We're made up mostly of freshmen. So we're just getting them that experience of being in an RMAC race. We're not necessarily looking for a spot, but just getting those girls into the race, into those group of people, and having to compete, really. This is a point in the season where you're tired and it's been a long year, and especially for freshmen coming in, doubling mileage, having these new experiences, it's definitely just about what can your body take and sustain and who you can race against. And so I think it's just great for the girls team just to keep building that. And I'm really excited. I think it's a great opportunity to also bond together and to realize that we can't do this without each other. And so I hope that me and Sil, especially being more in the front, can just help them lead up, and the experiences we've had through these couple of years hopefully can help them going into the race too.
Yeah, now, cross country is a really unique sport, and especially at this level, right? And you've kind of alluded to it a couple times here, Lincoln. Ultimately, the biggest prize in the most important race of the year is that South Central Regional. It's the only meet that you can go to and then earn a berth to the national championship race. So with such a long seasons, how do you keep your eyes on that ultimate prize and that competition throughout a long year?
Yeah, I think it helps having a lighter schedule, like only having 5 meets in the season. I feel like I just pick them off one by one. So at the beginning of the season, you're focusing on that first race. You learn something new every race too. So by the time we're getting to this point, I know I have conference ahead of me, and I've gained a bunch of experience, a bunch of growth, a bunch of miles throughout the season to get to this point. And so conference is my main focus right now, and that will propel me up until regionals as well, which is really nice.
Yeah, as for the guys team, it's pretty much all the same. So we are hoping to at least send an individual, Timmy, to nationals, but it would be great if we could send a team as well. Not being a ranked team, it is much harder to go to nationals than it would be if we were ranked otherwise. So rankings being top 30 in the nation. But it is most certainly possible. There's more ranked teams in our region than there has ever been before. I believe there's 9 or 10 at the moment. And pretty much what we need to do to go to nationals is to beat one of those teams. But this whole year is all working towards this one moment. So we've put in thousands and thousands of miles, and some of us, this is the pinnacle of our career. This is pretty much the last race we'll ever have in cross country if we don't make it to nationals. So it's pretty easy to keep our eyes on going to nationals, because it's basically all that we really want to do and what we've been working for through all these years and all these miles.
And the other thing that makes cross country so unique is, and you also alluded to it earlier, Lincoln, a time is a time, a placing is a placing. It's all black and white. There's no gray area with cross country. So it's so individual in nature, but there are some team strategies, right? So kind of talk us through some of those team strategies pieces in cross country.
So yes, like you said, it is very black and white, and there are some minor strategies, and usually they are about the first half of the race. So cross country is very unique from track in that everybody starts and everybody starts hard. Everybody sprints from the start, and basically about 800 meters in is when people finally start to settle in to their actual pace they'll be running the entire race in. So a lot of what we need to do is just be intelligent with how we run. It is very easy to ruin your race in the first mile or 2 miles because you go out too fast or because you go out too slow and then you can't catch up to everybody. So having experience is really important for that. But in general, just racing intelligence and doing what our coach tells us based off of the research that he's done into other teams and the people on their teams. So, for instance, he'll tell us to run with a certain person either on our own team or on somebody else's team, or to be in a specific spot, say like 80th or 20th on the course. And as far as strategy, that's really all it goes for us.
Yeah, I would actually argue that cross country is more of a team sport than even track is. It feels that way out on the course, even running and looking ahead, seeing Sylvia, knowing my freshmen are behind me. It's really about that gap you have in time between each person. The slower or the less time we can get in between each one of those girls, the better our score will be in the end. And a place is a place. So you're really just trying to knock out people and get to a higher place to get a lower score. So as a team collectively, you can't win just by yourself. Sil, she's at the front. She can't win us a team place to nationals by herself. We have to go with her. And I could argue that the fifth spot's almost as important as the first spot because their place matters because it's a bigger number. So we're really just trying as a team to get closer together to really get us a lower score.
That's really interesting, kind of that difference of perspective there. Now, Katie, you mentioned it. You're a sophomore, but somehow you're a veteran on this team with more than half of your roster being freshmen. How do you kind of approach being a leader on this team?
Just speaking from the heart, I think that the only way you're going to persevere through cross country is more mental than physical. You can run a lot of miles, but if your head's not in it, it's hard to finish a race. And so just speaking from personal experiences, knowing that I definitely am not perfect and I've had some bad races in the past. And so letting them see that just because I am a sophomore or a veteran, that doesn't mean that I'm perfect and I'm going to race perfectly, and kind of getting to their level and just saying, yeah, I was a freshman last year. Like, I struggled with these things too. Everyone does, and it's okay to mess up, especially your freshman year. You don't know what you're doing. You're not ready for the amount of miles that you're going to be hitting, and so just really trying to bond with them. And I also bring faith into running a lot too. So just making that kind of the foundation of why I run and who I am, and spreading that kind of love really powers.
And Lincoln, you're in a more natural position of leadership, being a senior on this team. So how do you approach leading this young men's squad?
So coming into college, you don't really know what you're doing. I think everybody's at least a little bit lost in where they're headed pretty much with everything. But it's a lot easier, obviously, for me, like you said, being a senior, to lead because more people are looking at you for leadership. But in general, the way I lead is just being kind to my teammates and just reaching out to them, because I know when I was a freshman, it was hard to make friends and it was hard to be friends, even sometimes with the people on my team. And we all have big personalities and a lot of different personalities, so sometimes those clash. And just being friends to everyone and trying to settle disputes wherever they might rise up is a big part of what I think my position in leadership is, as well as just being a role model to what hopefully the younger people will end up doing, moving up on the team and doing well over time and persevering through everything despite injuries or sickness and health and all that.
That's awesome. Now we roll into some rapid fire questions. You guys ready? What is your favorite course that you've run at?
My personal favorite is Roy Griak.
I'm going to have to agree with that. This year was my first year doing it, and it was awesome.
What is your go-to pregame music?
I'm a Christian music person, so kind of weird, but it's a little bit slower. My favorite song is In Christ Alone, but I don't know, it's slower melody, I guess.
And I will listen to pretty much anything, whatever I'm listening to at the moment. If I really feel like I need to get hyped up, then I might listen to some metal.
I said pre-game, pre-race music, same deal. What is your go-to race day breakfast?
For me, it's a bowl of cereal, a bagel, and a banana.
Loading up on those carbs.
I'm yogurt and granola, nice and simple.
Nice. And what's your favorite hangout spot on campus?
I like the library. I spend about 8 hours a day there, it feels like. So the library is where I'm at.
I'm a big fan of the third floor Bordeaux. I always get one of the freshmen who's living there, and we'll always go up like 5 of us into those rooms and just have a great time.
Nice. And finally, what is one thing that most people don't know about you?
My main sport up until college was actually football, and I was way better at football than I was at cross country.
I'm getting married in June.
Congratulations.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Katie and Lincoln, thank you so much for taking the time to join us this week.
Thank you for taking the time to interview us.
Yeah, that was great.
Until next time, I'm your host, Bryce Johnson, for Jacket Chats.